Leaks ruin Genshin Impact. This isn't a profound statement, not by any means. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you are a day one player or have been playing for a long period of time, you more than likely know that leaks do have a direct effect and consequence on either your experience or the experience of other people. And I know the general consensus is that banner leaks are really good, but I even want to mention how those can be detrimental to a lot of players. I myself have been a day one player, or at least a week one player, and I've experienced this journey from when the game first launched, when there, relatively speaking, wasn't any leaks compared to how it is now. And then I experienced a large expansion of them in regards to gameplay, character designs, banners, and so on. And I think that the general consensus usually is that every leak regarding the story is bad, the exploration is okay, meanwhile the gadget's quality of life is good. But continuing on from my previous point that I made in another recent video regarding exploration, how it's died, I think leaks have contributed very largely to that. Not just Hoyoverse himself talking about it and spoiling it inside of live streams, I mean the general Genshin community. Prior to Genshin Impact's release, I didn't really use Reddit ever. Now I can go onto Reddit and find every leak for the entirety of the next 3 patches before they release. I had the entirety of Fontaine's roster spoiled to me without looking for it myself. I wasn't even on Reddit, I was in Discord. And I think that it's ruined a lot of the hype and excitement. If you are a day one player, or hypothetically speaking, you manage to avoid any of the social media regarding Genshin Impact, you don't know what's coming up. You only know about what's announced in live streams, and even then, if you do know, or maybe avoid the live streams themselves, you don't know anything. And even though a lot of people say it gives free-to-plays and it gives whales or low spenders a chance to save up and prepare for future units, that doesn't necessarily apply if you're an indecisive person. If hypothetically, right now, you want Nilo or Nahida, without knowing anything about the future, you could pull fully. And yes, you could dedicate and you could regret that later on. But if you're an indecisive person who wants a lot of characters, or maybe you want to pick up some constellations here and there, or as opposed to getting new characters, hearing about the next banner may just make you less inclined to pull. Because you're more inclined to just sit there and say, well, you know, Nilo's nice or Nahida's nice, but a different character in the future like Ganyu or Baijo may be great. Maybe you're saving up for Akabe. Even though this can legitimately be useful if you are saving for a new unit, or maybe you're saving up for one character you like, hypothetically speaking it's Yelan, then you have the opportunity and you have a timeline to follow. You know when she's getting here and you know what you want to do before then. You want to do all the exploration. You want to level up your Sumeru and Inazuma tree, or even the new Sumeru stuff. You want to finish up a quest, that way you have the Prima Gems and the Fates. That is a timeline you can follow, but if you don't have an active thing you're saving for as of right now, you're kind of just in the middle throwing Prima Gems at whatever banner is currently there. But it's never just a banner. How many individuals here who are at least watching into this point remember seeing Dea leaks? Whether she was good, whether she was worse, and then worse, and then worse, and then worse, and then she released. That perception of Dea changed so dramatically that it made every leak from a previous week basically invalid. Hypothetically speaking, let's say you heard about Dea leaks a week or a month or maybe 2 patches in advance, and you were really excited for this character based on design and based on how powerful her kit seemed, and you skipped the banner character. Even though you liked them, you skipped that banner character for Dea, and then she got worse, and then she got worse and worse, and eventually you might have regretted that decision. And yes, I know that could be a very niche minority, but that's still something to consider. You may have individuals who are so enticed by the prospect of future units that they may end up skipping out on current units. You have the cat girl. How many individuals were considering Mika before he released? It's just very difficult to really discuss leaks, because on the side of free-to-plays, I understand that banner leaks can be a beneficial thing, but I don't want to take away from the fact that they can also be detrimental, because most of us do know a future banner coincides with a character being featured in an event or having a new character story quest drop like Nahida right now. And so if you do know what's happening and you do see a bunch of characters hypothetically from Mondstadt, Lever, or Inazuma, you know an event might be featured with them, or someone's getting another story quest. And if we're traveling down that route, there's not even an honor code regarding all of this. I've talked about banners, I've talked about events, but there's not even an honor code regarding story. You have story quest and story information plastered in YouTube titles. You have it in thumbnails. You have it everywhere. Maybe a community post. Maybe you have it anywhere else. HoYo Lab itself. There isn't even the simplistic honor code of, hey, you can spoil banners, you can spoil and talk about character kit, but you can't talk about the story of them or big story and event moments. No, instead, you have every major plot point spoiled for you. I had the entirety of Raiden's second story quest spoiled to me, even though I was legitimately excited for it. And this really defeats the purpose of anyone who legitimately enjoys either the story or the lore of the game itself. I have some favorites, I have some that I vehemently just dislike, like to a point where if I have to do the quest, I'm just putting it on mute. But either way, I know and understand there are a lot of individuals who may really love characters, and you maybe don't want Nahida's story quest part 2 spoiled for you because she may be your favorite character. But seeing either parts of it spoiled in a live stream or the entirety of it spoiled by YouTube or anything else does defeat that hype, because maybe you want to take things at your own pace and don't want to feel like you have to rush through the content just so you don't get spoiled by somebody else. Character Kit spoiled what should have been a surprise. If, let's say hypothetically speaking, nobody knew and understood what Nilo did, then it's fine to explain that when she releases. But if you are seeing this new character, and if you're seeing her shown off in a live stream or any other form of media, and you know exactly what she does, you immediately know that's not a character I want. It follows the same trend of banner characters. I know what Baijo does. I do not like Baijo as a character, so therefore I do not want him. A character's kit can sound really good, seem really fun, and be on release just average. Buffs can change, numbers can change, scalings can change, and it comes to a point to where what you may have pre-farmed for them in terms of artifacts or anything else are completely worthless. Early Genshin had less leaks. Now we have so many leaks that it's very difficult to avoid them if you watch or see anything correlated to Genshin content. Events, the entire storyline of an event could theoretically be spoiled for you, or maybe you see the event lineup and you know what to do. Like Leyline Overflow, I do not mind knowing about, but giant festivals, I do mind knowing about, especially if they have a very important story related to them. I don't want to say all leaks are bad, nobody leak anything. I don't want to say all leaks are good either, but what I do want to point out is it's much more nuanced, and we've shifted from necessary or even beneficial leaks to unnecessary ones in the future. Nobody needs the entirety of a story spoiled for them. While future characters can be useful to see beforehand, especially if they're on a banner you might not be interested in or might be interested in, it's very difficult to sort of weigh that line and walk it, because you either have the people who want to be excited and don't want to know a single thing, or the individuals who want to know everything to determine if they should pull or skip. But with no segmenting, spoilers in titles, spoilers in thumbnails, even if you don't want to be spoiled, it's very difficult and almost impossible to avoid. If you search up something like 3.6, you're finding information from leaks of 3.7. Maybe you like Nahida or Raiden and you look up a video on YouTube regarding them. Maybe it's a story moment, maybe it is the build guide, or whatever the case may be. It could just be their name, and instead what you find is the entirety of the story quest or something new that hasn't been released yet spoiled for you in a thumbnail or title of a video. All of Sumeru's Archon quest was spoiled to me before I actually did it, so I skipped through the whole Archon quest because there was nothing I didn't know. All of the emotional weight that could have got me attached to characters instead is just gone now. The only stories I went into blind were Mondstadt, Liyue, and Inazuma, and I loved each and every one of those. The new region was not spoiled to me, but I can't be excited for the new region when I don't care about the main story of that region, and when it's not voice acted. I believe quality of life stuff, maybe things that you wouldn't notice. Hey, maybe in the next update we're getting strong box editions. That's perfectly fine to say and tell everybody, because people will start saving their 5-star artifacts for potential set they like in the future. Quality of life updates, maybe new gadgets, maybe new abilities, new things in general that we have access to. That is all nice and well, because it can legitimately be something that you don't notice. But when you get into major things that most people want to avoid, or things that people really need to experience on their own, it becomes unnecessary and it becomes much more of a hindrance to the player base than not. There are so many leaks, it's more well known outside of Genshin now, to a point where the leaks are ridiculous. If the entirety of a patch is spoiled, let's be honest here, are you really excited anymore? If a big event that hasn't been done before is spoiled to you, do you care? And I legitimately want to know, because I've had all Fontaine spoiled to me. I've had the Hydro Archon, I've had the entire lineup of characters, 5-stars and 4-stars spoiled to me, and you know what? Now I can't be excited for a region because I'm not interested in the character designs. Except one. And he was revealed in the PV trailer ages ago. So I want to know from you, have leaks lessened and worsened your experience with Genshin, or has it made it better? For me, I'm just moving away from them as a whole. Like, yes, I understand that I could cover leaks and arguably, well not arguably, probably definitely get more views, but I don't want to. But I want to hear your thoughts. That's going to do it for me though. Consider subscribing, leave a like down below if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.